He is the undefeated demon lord of 1,000 years. Just because he was bored out of his mind, he went to battle with the strongest human heroine. They fought for 7 days and 7 nights. To his surprise, the heroine actually used the dual cultivation technique against him. This caused him to lose all his powers. He was ultimately sealed within a stone. 50 years passed in the blink of an eye. The once glorious Demon King's castle became a museum. Every day, there would be people bringing backups to visit. This time, the leader of the group was Royal Knight Ohm. Just as he brushed past a witch who was sweeping the floor, he suddenly grabbed her. Then he explained, because of the heroic's mercy, the demon race has also gained the right to live alongside us. The horns on their heads are their characteristic. After finishing his words, he tossed the maid out like garbage. Due to the innate magic power of demons, they have already been sealed alongside the Demon King. Being abused by humans has become a daily occurrence. But as long as they endure until tonight, it will be the time for the demon race to rise. Although the maid spoke lightly, it was still heard by Ohm. Suddenly, it was night. The maid arrived on time before the sealed demon lord. He took out a bottle of magic amplifying potion. It took 50 years just to collect this little bit. But to break the demon lord's seal, all of this is worth it. As the potion was swallowed, a long-lost magic power filled his body. With that expression, one would think a fruit was stuck in his back. Next, he gathered all his strength in his palm. Then he suddenly shot it toward the demon lord's statue. After doing all of this, he finally fell to the ground in tears. He murmured, "Did it succeed?" Then there was a cracking sound. A crack appeared in the statue. More and more debris slid off the statue. The grievances suppressed for 50 years finally erupted at that moment. He offered a salute for the king's return. But when the maid saw that the demon lord was just a young boy, she tentatively asked, "Are you the demon lord Belmont, my lord?" "Yes, that is me. Who are you?" After receiving a positive response, the maid excitedly embraced the demon lord. "Lord Belmont, it's really you. I am Lacey." But Belmont clearly remembers that Lacey has flat magic power. Yet the woman before him is not even of the same dimension. Lacey explained, "Ever since that battle, the magic inherent to the demon race has become unusable. Many people's appearances have changed. I miss my petite self so much." At this moment, Belmont recalled that female farmer. "She sealed me with a type of magical element I had never seen before." Lacey encouraged, "Although your power has yet to recover, this time you will surely lead our demon race to prosperity." To her surprise, Belmont refused. Yet he still stubbornly asked, "At least please tell me, what kind of magic the hero used to seal you back then? Maybe we can find a way." Belmont answered seriously. "It was a ritual that involved an experience exchanged mouth to mouth. It's an unknown magic called dual cultivation technique." Lacey was stunned by this statement. In a certain sense, it is indeed unknown magic for the demon lord. At that moment, a figure slowly approached the two of them. It was none other than Royal Knight Ohm. "This is bad. Lord Belmont, hurry up and go." Unexpectedly, the next moment, Lacey was knocked away. Looks like the fall was quite severe. "Lacey, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Lord Belmont, escape quickly." Ohm saw that the two still had time to care for each other. He then concentrated to form a stronger wind magic. Belmont remained completely calm upon seeing this. He raised his arm aimed at Ohm, only to forget that he could no longer use his powers. This is awkward. He flew even further than Lacey. Indeed, after being sealed by Lady Arya, there were no signs of magical fluctuations at all. "Looks like I have a chance for promotion." Seeing Lacey constantly blaming herself, Belmont unexpectedly asked, "Earlier, he kept calling us demon race scum. Has the demon race been treated like this all these years?" "Yes, me lord. Although a law was issued allowing the demon race and other races to have the same status, most people still can't accept our existence, just like him. Unable to accept our existence." Getting the answer, Belmont looked toward the reality of the underworld hero. "Sure enough, you still haven't succeeded, huh?" At this moment, Lacey used the magic of the Hunter clan, planning to buy some time to help Belmont escape. Ohm mocked him, saying he was just reversing while lying down. Just based on this, Lacey's magic power would only turn into cannon fodder. At the critical moment of life and death, Belmont sensed an unknown magic at his heart. He immediately grabbed Lacey and lifted her up. The next moment, a large amount of magic power surged within him, restoring him to some degree of strength. But it was more than enough to deal with Ohm. As flames shot out from Belmont's palm, Ohm immediately lost consciousness and fell to the ground. After this experience, Belmont decided to break the seal of the demon race. Let Lacey take him to the place with the most opposite sexes on this continent. He aimed to revive the demon race using the dual cultivation technique to gain more magic power. Belmont brought his subordinate Lacey to the Wind Clan palace. He was prepared to indulge himself. Whether it was the snake people with nimble tongues, or the ice jade covered in lubricant, as long as there was a female in the store, he would take her. The girls thought they had encountered a big client from the human race. They secretly decided not to take their medicine today. But just when they were about to be honest with each other, the young women were shocked to discover that the other was actually from the demon race. Their pants were already halfway down. They were thrown directly onto the street. They thought a big client had arrived. It turned out to be demon trash. What bad luck. After the crowd dispersed, the succubus nearby laughed at the two of them. "I never expected that in this era, there would still be such clueless demons. In Rose City, our typical demons can only beg for a living on the streets. If you want to blame someone, blame the defeated demon lord. If they wanted to make a scene, they should step forward and teach this woman a lesson." Unexpectedly, Belmont stepped in front of the woman first. Just a glance made her shiver all over. It was as if she had seen him somewhere before. Belmont asked, "You just said typical demons. What kind of demons can live normally here?" For some reason, the woman seemed unable to resist his words. She could only honestly answer. Only by becoming a student at the St. Alaman Hero Academy can that happen. The entrance exam is in 2 days. After receiving the information, Belmont turned and left. The woman didn't expect that Belmont would actually go. She quickly shouted, "A demon without magic power cannot do anything. You don't need to worry about that. The demon lord's mistake. She will personally correct it." Belmont and Lacey were forced to watch at the academy entrance due to their lack of examination qualifications. They had to start watching at the academy entrance. Suddenly, Belmont was blasted away by magic. There was an old butler. He was fighting with a young lady named Alice. "Next time, I won't hold back, Lloyd. Let me through quickly." Compared to taking the exam with commoners, Lord Ralph has arranged a more suitable path for you. The two had no intention of apologizing to Belmont at all. Alice gathered her magic power once again. Magic rained down on Lloyd. But now, it's still too early to challenge the old man known as the Elegant Mage. Moreover, every magic projectile can be deflected with the most elegant arc. Yet it just so happened to hit Belmont again. This time, that old man was completely finished. Just as Lloyd prepared to forcibly take Alice away, Belmont suddenly appeared in front of him. There was a loud bang. Lloyd lay on the ground, unconscious. The scene fell into silence. This guy must be a demon, right? What a coincidence. He can use magic too. However, Belmont is still not calmed down. He grabs Lloyd's collar and demands an apology. Realizing this, Alice quickly asks for his assistant. Almost forgot there's also a conspirator. But after seeing dear Alice's appearance, he was taken aback. Why does this person look so much like the heroine? Seeing that the other party still dares to glare at him, Alice's anger also flared up. She steps forward to teach him what a fire stick is. Just as he touched Belmont, his mind went blank as his clothes seemed to burst apart. This was a sensation he had never experienced. Belmont was also startled by this. Why did the dual cultivation magic activate automatically? The two seemed like two pieces of magnet. They couldn't be separated no matter what. A pair of jade hands intervened between the two. Only then did they get separated. "Lord Belmont, are you okay?" Belmont was gasping for breath. He absorbed too much magical power. It felt like he was going to be drained dry. After Lacey's reminder, Belmont realized that this woman was actually a descendant of the heroine. No wonder she looks so similar. This cup is just a bit small. He simply cannot grasp it. Alice has grown up this much. She has never been humiliated by a man like this. It directly left a mark of affection on Belle's face. Let's just forget about this. You are unable to participate because you lack a guarantee letter. You can't take the exam, right? Lacey felt that it was not suitable to stay here long. She just wanted to pull Belle away from here. Alice naturally disagreed. Just now, Belle used strange magic to tease her. That doesn't count yet. Belle stopped and said, "That is not magic. It's something unique. Because nothing is." Lacey was on edge, fearing that Belle would reveal his identity. Unexpectedly, she said, "I am a descendant of the succubus. As long as I come into contact with women, it will make them vary." Upon hearing this, Alice's face instantly turned red. "In any case, you all helped me out a lot. If you want to enter the St. Alaman Hero Academy, I can help you." But just as they walked through the school gate with Alice, I ran into the most troublesome person. Newt was being sarcastic towards Alice. I really didn't expect it. The young lady would actually come to take the exam. Alice originally intended to ignore her, but that person suddenly pounced on her. "Don't be so cold. After all, we are childhood friends." Newt noticed that Alice brought 2 demons with her. She thought they were her servants. Alice reminded her, "They're just people I've recently met. You'd better not get close to her. She has Meizu blood, you know." But the wild Newt ignored her warning. She actually went and bought a meat sandwich directly. And she even made Belle her pet. Alice forcefully separated the two with her sword. "You lewd person. If you're going to get aroused, go home and don't pollute the exam hall. It was just a joke. Why are you being so serious?" At that moment, another woman appeared and sniffed Belle. She then embraced the bewildered Belle in her arms. Rostana asked, "Are you really a succubus? Your scent is so unique." Belle replied without thinking. Male succubi tend to be a bit special. Seeing the two of them being so intimate with each other, Alice was filled with jealousy. Rostana said, "Your brother joined the academy last year. Is the Fleming family not satisfied with just 1 seat?" Newt also pointed out, "Alice, I should remind you not to forget the hero's covenant from back then." Hearing the two mention this, Alice said angrily, "Enough. I have my own plans that don't involve my family." The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Lacey explained, "My lord, these 3 are the descendants of the heroes who once defeated you." Belle became interested upon hearing this, but they don't seem to have a good relationship. It turns out the team that defeated the Demon King was composed of 4 members. Arya indeed had the greatest contribution. However, because of this, the other members of the hero team have always been wary of her family. Their relationship is quite delicate. At that moment, a spatial magic circle lit up in front of everyone. Then the examiner Edward appeared from within. "Welcome to the entrance exam for St. Edmund Academy. That's teacher Edward, the most popular candidate for bishop this year. He's so handsome." Lacey couldn't help but worry if their magic power could pass the assessment. "Don't worry. After going through the previous 2 dual cultivation sessions, I have awakened a part of my ability to wield this magic. Let me show you the power of this cane." It turns out Belle wanted to flaunt the dual cultivation technique in front of Lacey. What embarrassed him was that the magic power disappeared once it left his body. He just acted lonely. Lacey was worried that the Lord wouldn't pass the magic assessment, so she took out a magic amplifying potion from the facial cleanser. It could temporarily enhance his magic power. However, Belle refused Lacey's kind offer. Because cheating in good things is not right. These words left Lacey stunned. My lord, this is no time to be concerned about that. Right now, the revival of the demon race depends on you. Belle declared passionately. Even without innate powerful magic, I don't think the demon race is inferior to other races. Don't worry. I will definitely pass this exam. In that moment, Lacey thought the adult was super cool. But when he was about to put the potion back in place, suddenly a hand appeared and snatched the potion away. Lacey was just about to step forward to retrieve it. But the next second, it was in Edward's hand. You dare to cheat in my space mage examination. Saying that, he crushed it. And in front of all the candidates, he expelled Lacey from the academy. And Belle could only watch helplessly as Lacey was sucked into the spatial magic array. Then Edward explained. Don't worry. I just expelled the garbage of the demon clan from the exam hall. I had wanted to give special care since it had been a while to see demon candidates. But I discovered cheating behavior. So I had to take action. His expression turned serious. As expected, they never failed to disappoint. Belle remained silent with a dark expression. Edward, robust, threatened him that if he had any objections, he would throw him out too. And Belle vowed to make him apologize to Lacey on his knees. Next, Edward unleashed a large-scale spatial magic. The next second, everyone was teleported to the throne behind the academy. The content of this exam is very simple. Everyone just needs to cross this bridge and walk to the academy on the other side. As the assessment began, everyone rushed crazily towards the academy. Belmont vaguely felt there was something wrong with the bridge. Sure enough, the next second, the bridge surface turned to quicksand. Quite a few people actually began to fall into danger. But soon someone noticed that as long as they focused, they wouldn't be affected. It turned out that this bridge was made of a giant slime. Those with insufficient magic power would fall into danger. Those with inadequate control would be stuck and unable to move. Seeing Newt easily surpass him, Alice started to get anxious. Newt didn't forget to mock her. You better not get eliminated here. Edward also noticed the situation over here. It seemed that the descendants of the heroes had no major issues. On the contrary, the demon scum were struggling. Given Belmont's current magic power, he truly couldn't break free. However, it wasn't without a solution. As he released his magic, he surprisingly turned the surrounding slimes into liquid. This directly shocked Edward. This required a high level of control to achieve. But even so, the limitations caused by insufficient magic power couldn't be lifted. But the next second, Belmont showcased his fancy swimming. Even among the academy's teachers, few have this level of control. But the real show has just begun. Just as the woman steadied herself to move forward, the bridge suddenly tilted over. It also extended many slime tentacles. In the next moment, the woman was firmly bound by the tree root tentacles. Soon, more and more people fell victim, suspended in midair. Meanwhile, the less skilled candidates were thrown into the spatial array below the bridge. However, this isn't a challenge for the descendants of heroes. At that moment, a slime aggressively attacked the glasses girl. Fortunately, Alice timely unleashed fire magic. The glasses girl narrowly escaped disaster. Thank you, Lady Alice. Don't get me wrong. I just did it on a whim. However, the person who thought up this test really lacks taste. After enjoying the descendants' battles, Edward's gaze once again fell on Belmont. To his surprise, the slime not only did not attack him, but became his little subordinate. This guy can actually speak the language of slimes. Wasn't that lost dozens of years ago? Although the demon's performance exceeded his expectations, he shouldn't even think of passing the assessment. Suddenly, the slime mutated, transformed into a black humanoid slime. If Alice hadn't appeared in time to block an attack for Belmont, I would really have met my end here today. Fortunately, Alice appeared just in time to block the attack. Seeing Belle still dazed in place, Alice asked with concern, "Are you okay?" Belle replied in disbelief, "You saved me." Alice was also taken aback. Then she said somewhat defensively, "It's just that he blocked my way across the bridge. Don't think too much of it." Edward was worried that the slime would hurt Alice next. He planned to retrieve the potion using space magic. But the black slime's magic power increased dramatically after absorbing other slimes. It actually shattered his magic directly. Watching the rampaging monster before him, he finally realized he was in big trouble. At this time, Alice's attacks rained down on the slime. But what shocked him was that the slime was gradually adapting to his fire magic. Belle immediately noticed that this slime had ingested the forbidden giant python's black blood. It was a magical potion that could restore a monster's power to 1% of its peak strength. Alice thought she had heard wrong. It's only 1% and it's this strong? It shouldn't be like this originally. However, slimes are very special monsters. They can merge and share power with each other. And this guy in front of us is the result of many slimes merging together. Unfortunately, Alice ended up firing 2 blasts. As the dust settled, the slime was still completely unharmed. Belle spoke up. "Didn't I say it was useless to you?" Alice was a bit annoyed. "Are you just going to stand there and make sarcastic comments?" Belle stepped forward and said, "There is certainly a way, but since you are here, let's just use that." Just as Alice was about to ask what the method was, Belle suddenly wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her into his embrace. Before Alice could even comprehend the situation, Belle had already captured her lips. "Get ready. This is the magic called dual cultivation." However, awkwardly, nothing happened. Strange. Why didn't it trigger? And Alice could no longer suppress the anger in her heart. She clenched her fists and swung at Belle. The resulting power surprisingly created 2 mushroom clouds. "You're such a big pervert. Still thinking about a shivering big pervert at this time? Go die already." Belle suddenly felt that the slime didn't seem so scary after all. After calming down, Alice said, "I'll spare you this time. You should quickly find the mages of the academy for support. But with your strength, you won't survive until I return." Alice didn't expect this guy to be so long-winded. Another beating was imminent. Belle suddenly asked. Why would you rather die than not do this? Alice answered without hesitation. Protecting the people is the hero's duty. This reminded Belle of Arya. He had once said the same thing. At that moment, the slime launched another attack at them. Alice frantically swung her sword to defend. But the magic purity of the flame barrier was not high enough. It was broken through in an instant. At the critical moment, Belle took Alice and narrowly escaped. Why don't you leave? Now is not the time to play the hero. But Belle replied. If protecting the people is the hero's duty, then this duty now also includes the demon child. Isn't that right? Alice was momentarily at a loss for words. Belle continued speaking to himself. So I must pass this exam to become a hero. Alice suddenly found this guy much more pleasing to the eye. But how long do you intend to keep pressing down? As the slime launched its attack again, Belle suddenly grasped his hand, allowing him to focus. In the next moment, it felt like all the magic power in his body was drawn into his palm. Belle reassured him. Don't worry. I just utilized your overflowing magic power more efficiently. After absorbing Alice's magic, Belle regained a bit of strength. Naturally, dealing with the slime was no longer a challenge. With a fiery magic bullet, it directly shattered the slime's body into pieces. There's also good news. After this battle, his strength had recovered somewhat, and he collaborated with Alice to eliminate a magical beast that even the teacher found tricky. However, the examiner firmly accused Belle of cheating, because the demon race's magic support had long been sealed by the hero. The demon race was unable to gather enough magic power now. Without cheating, it would be impossible to pass the exam. Speaking of which, Edward was about to forcibly punish Belle. As the magic circle was about to take shape, Belle audaciously punched him. After babbling for a long time, in the end, you're just making wild guesses. Based on previous experiences, this guy may not have much magic power, but he has extremely high magic control. Not only can he handle the opponent's magic array, he can also borrow the magic power of others. Just as Edward was about to regain his face, a woman's laughter came from behind. It seems a remarkable student has arrived this year. Let me have a meeting with her. With a flash of lightning, Belle and Alice were sent to the St. Alaman Academy Council. Welcome to the highest authority of the academy. I am the headmaster, Karen Lin. In order to prove your eligibility for enrollment, next, I will prepare an additional test for each of you. The two looked at each other in disbelief. We clearly passed the entrance exam normally. Why do we still need an additional test? Karen explained patiently. The reason is simple. Because both of you have broken the rules of St. Alaman Academy. First, no demon races are accepted. Second, for families with great power, only one student is accepted per generation. This has long been an unwritten rule. Unexpectedly, Belle retorted. Since it is an unwritten rule, can it still be considered a rule? Getting through the previous assessment allows you to enroll. This is indeed a written rule, right? This statement immediately sparked discussions among the jurors. Karen was amused. That's right. Don't worry. This is a temporary additional test and it's not difficult. After that, she asked the two why they wanted to join this academy. Alice said she wants to become a remarkable hero like her grandmother. And Belle wants the demon race of this era to be treated equally. This statement instantly sparked a lot of debate. But Karen burst into an uncontrolled laugh. One wants to become a hero to defeat the Demon King. The other wants to revive the demon race. That's quite interesting. I'm increasingly looking forward to both of your performances in the future. Then she handed two mocoless rings to the two of them. If the wearer is recognized by the ring, then it proves they are qualified to become a hero. But if unrecognized, they will be drained of magic power by the ring and perish. As the two nervously put on the rings, two beams of purple light suddenly entered their bodies. Then two demons wielding long swords appeared before them. Belle mocked. A mere sword demon dares to show off in front of me? The next moment, with his powerful soul, he startled the sword demon. Even the sword demon is about to cry. Why don't you judge me instead? She escaped back into the ring in less than 10 seconds after appearing. However, things were not looking good for Alice. Because her magical talent was worse than her brother's. She had been mistreated by her family since childhood. Even her father was extremely disappointed in her. He even unilaterally arranged a marriage for her. A series of factors led to her being rejected by the sword spirit. Belle wanted to help her. But with her limited magic, she couldn't do anything. Alice said weakly. I'm fine, you don't have to worry about me. To her surprise, Belle came right to her side. If you can't become a hero, you'll be judged. So the hero's rule is to impose your worldview on others. I'm sorry. I still think protecting the girl in front of me is more valuable. As soon as the words left her mouth, Alice couldn't hold back her tears any longer. In the next moment, a familiar replacement sensation came from Belle's heart. The dual cultivation technique actually activated successfully at this moment. The sword demon was completely obliterated. Everything happened too suddenly. When she regained her senses, she heard Karen's applause. Congratulations to both of you for joining the St. Alaman Magic Academy. Finally, we let out a sigh of relief. The scene shifts. Today is the first day of classes at St. Alaman Hero Academy. Because she was worried about my safety, Lacey has been waiting for me at the door since early morning. Moreover, she noticed that the incoming students all have very strong magical fluctuations. However, she missed the most important point. That is, there are an unusually large number of beauties here. Beauties from all races are present. In such an environment, mastering the dual cultivation technique shouldn't be too difficult. But I wonder which beauties I will be in the same class with. While I was pondering this, Lacey took out an encyclopedia of men and women. It contains unspeakable secrets of various races. Lacey obtained this from a predecessor of the demon race. She hopes I can master the dual cultivation technique soon. Although I can't understand it right now, this book should be very useful to me. For that, Lacey is even prepared to assist me outside. I can ask her anything I don't understand. Whether it's reviving the demon race, or living up to Lacey's expectations, I will do my best to conquer all the different beings in the academy. The moment I opened the classroom door, I was completely stunned. I saw muscular men in green attire sitting inside, and they were all looking at me with ill intent. At first, I thought I had entered the wrong classroom, so I quickly closed the door. The protagonist didn't even listen. Even Rikik, as the representative of the freshmen, went up to speak. The protagonist was also not in the right state of mind. When he came down and passed by the protagonist, he even took a special glance at the protagonist. In his heart, he thought the protagonist was a despicable demon. He didn't deserve to be in the same class as him. At this moment, the protagonist, who had regained his focus, noticed his gaze. He recalled what Lacey had said to him earlier. To maintain good relations with his classmates, he at least needed to put on a smiling face. At the thought of this, the corners of the protagonist's mouth began to curve upward slightly. Then he wore a disdainful smile of a king while looking at him. This really frightened Rikik. Those who didn't know thought the protagonist was plotting something against her. In the eyes of others, she was indeed an object of admiration. Now her composure was thrown off by the protagonist's smile. Later, the more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She decided she had to confront the protagonist. Then she walked up to the protagonist and shouted, "Hey demon kid, what is your purpose in getting close to Miss Alice?" No translation provided, as it may refer to a specific style or context. Dual cultivation magic point. He said with a smile, "She is just a simple acquaintance of mine." Although the protagonist is speaking the truth, in Rikite's eyes, his expression becomes an act of provocation against her. Without saying a word, she cast magic on the ground. After a burst of bright light, a serpent-tailed cat wreathed in flames appeared in the classroom. This was the summoning technique passed down through the generations in the Rikite family. The protagonist was stunned when he saw this adorable creature. For this reason, Rikite thought the protagonist was afraid of her, so she boldly warned the protagonist to stay away from Alice. Unexpectedly, the protagonist brushed past her. He walked up to the serpent-tailed cat and patted her forehead. This scene left Rikite completely dumbfounded. After all, she hadn't fully gained control over this serpent-tailed cat yet. If she was careless, it could go berserk. As it turned out, she was right. At this moment, the serpent-tailed cat was on the verge of going wild. What Rikite didn't know was that the serpent-tailed cat was once one of the strongest monsters of the demon race. Its core was composed of magical energy, and it could transform into various forms based on the battlefield situation. Once on the battlefield, just 5 serpent-tailed cats could hold back thousands of human soldiers. Good, don't be afraid. You must be feeling really uncomfortable being trapped by magic. I didn't expect the protagonist's words. Instantly calmed the snake-tailed cat. The students in the classroom were all astonished. Even Rikite couldn't believe this outcome. However, this was a great opportunity to save face. He wanted to take the chance to retrieve the snake-tailed cat. Then, taking advantage of the snake-tailed cat's moment of relaxation, Rikite cast the magical chains, binding the snake-tailed cat tightly, then dragging it into the summoning circle. As a result, this made the snake-tailed cat, which had already calmed down, snarl in anger once again, just stared at him, which scared Rikite, making him break into a cold sweat. Then, they saw the snake-tailed cat breaking free from the chains. It lunged at him fiercely. At this critical moment, the protagonist swiftly appeared in front of him, then grabbed the giant claw of the attacking snake-tailed cat. With a throw, he flung it away. Then, coolly turning to Rikite, he said, "Your rough magic hurt this lovely child." Unexpectedly, the snake-tailed cat seized the chance to launch a sneak attack on the protagonist. However, even so, the protagonist didn't take him seriously at all. Then he activated the Eye of Dark Conspiracy to find the weakness of the serpent-tailed cat. With the help of the Eye of Dark Conspiracy, he quickly located the seal controlling the serpent-tailed cat. Without saying a word, he raised his fist, as big as a pot, and smashed it. Just a simple blow broke the seal of the serpent-tailed cat. Seeing this scene, the fallen Rikite was utterly shocked. At that moment, a sudden meow came from behind him. He turned to look, and found a nearsighted, golden-yellow serpent-tailed cat, glaring at him and hissing. Such a cute serpent-tailed cat immediately captured Rikite's heart. Meanwhile, the protagonist walked towards the serpent-tailed cat and said, "We have plenty of these little cats in my backyard. Although their appearance can change based on their magic power, their original form is like this. They're very cute and clingy. From now on, you will be free. You probably don't have a name yet, right?" Seeing himself in another embarrassing situation, Rikite got up and said, "Damn it. Don't think that just because of this, I will give Miss Alice to you. I haven't lost yet." Hearing this, the protagonist retorted, "Women are not trophies. You can't determine belonging based on victory or defeat. Everything must be approached with the right methods." Then the protagonist took out again the Encyclopedia of Men and Women for his reference, preparing to explain the content to Rikite. Seeing this, Rikite was also very curious. She asked what kind of book this was. At this moment, the protagonist, an old hand, appeared. He looked quite scheming. He then asked the little cat in his arms for help. He did not refuse either. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into human form. His figure could be described as curvaceous. Meanwhile, on Lacey's side, he was packing his luggage. However, he accidentally found a book. It was identical to the book in the protagonist's hand. The only difference was that this book had Basic Edition All Ages written on the back. Meanwhile, the book the protagonist was explaining was another one. That one was the 18 plus Practical Edition. It was a book with a warning label. Just at that moment, Alice and Newt were getting ready to find the protagonist. During this time, Newt teased Alice. He asked her if she liked the protagonist. The answer was obvious. But Alice, blushing, denied the fact. She said she was just going to express her thanks. Soon, they arrived at the classroom where the protagonist was. The moment they opened the classroom door, they saw the protagonist seriously explaining the content of the book. The boys below were listening with great interest. Newt couldn't help but exclaim, "This is too bold, isn't it?" The previously hostile Rikite towards the protagonist has now become the protagonist's little mystery. And after the protagonist noticed Alice's arrival, he actually told her to find a place to sit down and study properly. Once this was said, Alice instantly blushed, her heart racing with anger. On the first day of school, the male classmates' fondness for the protagonist instantly soared to 100%, while the girls dropped to 10. From then on, the protagonist gained a group of little mysteries. Every time the protagonist entered the classroom, there would be a group of little mysteries greeting him. Although they were all selectively ignored by the protagonist, Rikite would not give up his dream of being the protagonist's little brother. He even felt that he wasn't good enough, which is why he was ignored by the protagonist. In the days that followed, Rikite tried various ways to greet the protagonist. No matter the place, his figure could be seen. He even used a gangster-style greeting. Yet he still did not gain the protagonist's recognition. Feeling dejected, he went to the dining hall to reflect. Was it the angle of his salute that was imperfect? Or did he sell his right foot while kneeling? Or was it that his sunglasses weren't round? In fact, it had nothing to do with any of these. The main issue was that the protagonist was deep in thought. How can I practice dual cultivation with a girl? The naive protagonist still doesn't understand. Why did Alice suddenly stop ignoring him? When she noticed the same look from the protagonist aimed at her, Alice immediately got angry and broke the spoon in her hand. Seeing this scene, the protagonist nearly choked in fear. Later, he thought to himself that being alive is actually quite good. Just then, Newt suddenly appeared in front of the protagonist. She flirtatiously said, "Little sister, we meet again. What do you think of my figure? Want to have some fun with me?" Then she leaned closer to the protagonist's ear and said again, "I know about dual cultivation, you know." Upon hearing this, the protagonist's pupils dilated instantly. He looked at Newt in disbelief. Meanwhile, on the other side, Rikite heard this and instantly had a nosebleed. Truly, he is his own brother. Even Newt voluntarily came to him. It must be that she witnessed his profound knowledge yesterday. But in order to keep the matter of dual cultivation from spreading, the protagonist had no choice but to go along with Newt's suggestion. At this moment, a clattering sound suddenly came from the side. Alice stood up angrily. Newt even specially asked her what was wrong. "Is there something going on? Shouldn't I be asking you that? What do you want to do with this guy in broad daylight?" Newt directly teased her, saying, "I have something about the student council to discuss with you, little sister. Do you want to hear it?" When Newt mentioned the student council, Alice's expression immediately changed. She meant to retort, but before she could say anything, she swallowed her words back. In the end, she had no choice but to turn around and leave in defeat. Meanwhile, the protagonist was taken by Newt to a deserted place. Lacey also seized the opportunity to quietly follow. "Go on. What do you want from me? Why did you have to bring me to a deserted place alone?" In response to the protagonist's suspicion, Newt said with a charming smile, "You seem quite eager. Of course, I came to discuss dual cultivation with you." Learning that she knew the secret of the dual cultivation technique, the protagonist asked her how she found out. But Newt replied that this secret is known by everyone. After all, it's a lethal technique for sealing the Demon Lord. Upon hearing this, the protagonist, being the Demon Lord, immediately felt a mental explosion. However, later Newt revealed her suspicion. She suspected that the protagonist's magic power was related to the dual cultivation technique. For a moment, the protagonist thought he had exposed his identity as the Demon Lord. He contemplated the dire consequences if his identity was revealed. Just when he was about to take action against her, unexpectedly, she said that he was using the succubus's seduction technique. It involved absorbing the magic power of the opposite sex for his own use. In literary language, the protagonist then recalled why he felt weak every time he got close to a succubus. He always felt completely drained. But since his identity had not been revealed, he curiously asked her, "Why did you bring me here to talk about the dual cultivation matter?" To this, Newt bit her finger and said, "So silly. You're still asking after I've made it so clear." "Of course it is." At this point, her fingers manifested a golden paper bubble. Taking advantage of the protagonist's moment of inattention, she suddenly lunged at him. At this critical moment, Lacey, who had been hiding to the side, suddenly ran out. She blocked the protagonist's path. Newt reflexively retracted her attack as well. Seeing that she did not continue her assault, Lacey began to worry about the protagonist's safety. Compared to this, the protagonist was more curious about why Newt had attacked him. Seeing someone come out to cause trouble, Newt couldn't make another move. He could only wait for another opportunity to properly spar with the protagonist later. Then he leapt into action, jumping down from a height. The scene shifted. Arriving at a secret meeting hall, the people sitting here were all members of the student council, keeping a close watch on Alice's every move. And the president of the student council was none other than Alice's brother, Adonis. Rose. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, it was time for one of the few practical courses at the academy. Being in this hero academy that separates the genders, opportunities to communicate with women were already few and far between. Ever since Newt wanted to attack the protagonist, Lickett has been even more protective of the protagonist, let alone interacting with women. Now it was even hard to talk to anyone outside the class. To liberate the demon race as soon as possible, the protagonist orders Lickett to cancel the defense. However, he is worried that Newt might launch another surprise attack and hurt the protagonist. "Don't worry. There's no need to have so many people surrounding me. This way, it would actually be more inconvenient." As soon as these words were spoken, it was understood by Lickett as long as he was there, everything would be fine. The protagonist has already acknowledged him as the number one lackey. Then he imitated the protagonist's scornful smile to retort back. Just at that moment, a hand suddenly slapped on the protagonist's shoulder. And that person was the notorious Brian from the academy. He had been held back to the same grade as the protagonist due to a fighting incident. His appearance sent Lickett into a cold sweat. He hurriedly asked what he was doing here. He came this time to find the protagonist, mainly to see what kind of demon could get into the academy. Unfortunately, the protagonist brought up the very topic of his being held back, mentioning the matter of his being held back in front of Brian. The outcome was predictable. Furious, he raised his fist, as big as a sandpot, and swung it at the protagonist. According to what Lickett knew, Brian was a power-type magic user. His strength was already close to that of a professional hero, yet took a powerful punch, was caught with one hand by the protagonist. Newt, noticing this, stepped in to stop his actions. Let him know when to stop. The teacher in class also noticed the situation here. Immediately called out to them. Strong. Brian didn't dare to act recklessly anymore. He had to leave a harsh warning and find trouble with the protagonist later. After Brian walked away, the sidekick, Lickett, then remembered the rumors in the academy. He had received word earlier that someone in the academy was targeting the protagonist. Until Brian's appearance. Perhaps this rumor is true. To be on the safe side, Lickett also specifically reminded the protagonist to be careful. Next was the academy's practical combat class exercise. Everyone present had to fight magical beasts in the forest. The class was in pairs. Entering the portal would randomly send them to a certain part of the forest. The portal would automatically close afterward. The time limit was 4 hours. The more magical beasts you defeat, the higher the level, the more credits you earn. Upon hearing this, Lickett was pleased, thinking he could team up with the protagonist. But when he turned around, the protagonist had vanished from the spot. In order to team up with Newt, at the moment the protagonist was about to enter the portal, taking advantage of Brian's moment of inattention, he jumped up and landed behind them. He grabbed Newt's hand and jumped into the portal together. Thus, the protagonist successfully teamed up with Newt. Due to some deviation during the fall, it led to a situation where the girl was on top of the boy. This also gave Newt an opportunity. He reached out for strength, suddenly lunged forward to grab, crushing the magic puppet in front of him. Newt originally thought this practical exercise's magic puppet would be strong. Unexpectedly, it was easily resolved by him. At this moment, the male protagonist slowly stood up and said, although the magic puppet seemed humanoid, it was actually a magical creature driven by magic. And the control core is a magic called Knot. If only the outer body is destroyed, it is useless. Once the male protagonist finished explaining, the magic puppet that had just been defeated revived again, and took advantage of Newt's unpreparedness, grabbing him in one swift motion. Because the stone attached to the magic puppet's hand was too hard, Newt couldn't break free from the restraints at all. Meanwhile, the male protagonist watching the scene, calmly stated the solution. That is, as long as there is sufficiently strong magic power, one can sense the knot on the magic puppet. Hearing this, Newt tried to break free from his bindings, while urging the protagonist to hurry and save him. Unexpectedly, the protagonist shrugged his shoulders, indicating that his current magic power was too low. Even if he were pressed together with you, it wouldn't be enough to cast a perception spell. Although the protagonist lacked sufficient magic power, he still charged forward, ready to rescue Newt, because he possessed the true eye that didn't require magic power, capable of seeing through all objects. Soon, the protagonist discovered the location of the knot on the golem. Then, the protagonist threw a punch, shattering the knot on the golem. In the instant of landing, the protagonist activated the true eye again, searching for the knot on another golem. Sure enough, the knot on the other golem was also easily found by the protagonist. Immediately after, with a bang, the protagonist kicked and shattered the golem's body. Then he stylishly caught the falling Newt. At that moment, Newt began to doubt the protagonist's identity. I am the one who is supposed to kill you. Why are you still trying to save me? In response to Newt's question, the protagonist calmly replied, if you really wanted to kill me, you wouldn't have chosen that day to attack in such an obvious place as the rooftop. As he spoke, the protagonist subconsciously glanced at Newt. As a result of not closing the real eye, the protagonist saw things he shouldn't have. In an instant, blood gushed uncontrollably. Newt thought it was a magical puppet that had attacked. Due to excessive blood loss, the protagonist felt temporarily unconscious. When he opened his eyes again, the real eye still hadn't closed. The images reappeared before the protagonist's eyes. The outcome was predictable. The protagonist fell unconscious once again, until the protagonist's magic power was completely depleted. The real eye finally stopped. Afterwards, the protagonist selectively explained his real eye. This question made Newt burst into laughter. He thought that would be the end of it. Unexpectedly, Newt suddenly approached the protagonist. Not only did he sniff the protagonist's scent, but he also said, you are definitely more than just a succubus. Do you know why someone wants to get rid of you? The first thing that came to the protagonist's mind was his identity as a demon. Unfortunately, the protagonist only answered half right. The ones who truly want you dead are actually the family behind Alice, the descendants of the human heroes. This left the protagonist in shock. After all, the Demon Clan Treaty was created by them, when the Demon King was still alive. Humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, because they have a common enemy, the demon race. Thus, they formed an alliance. After successfully defeating the Demon King, humans took control of 70% of the continent based on the achievements of the hero. They monopolized 70% of the entire continent's control. The remaining 30% was divided among other races. The continent was filled with human supremacists. Later, they brazenly bullied other races, causing the elves, gnomes, and dwarves to be extremely dissatisfied with humans. Due to the appearance of the protagonist and Alice, it not only violated the unwritten rules, but also became a perfect reason to provoke conflict. Therefore, eliminating the protagonist is now a top priority for humans. After hearing these words, the protagonist remained unmoved. He only felt it was a pity.